The Mimes box. The first time I saw the box, it wasn't on my porch. It was sitting in the middle of the street, neat as anything, like someone had placed it there deliberately. It was painted in alternating black and white stripes, like something from a carnival sideshow. A fat ribbon tied around the middle, but the bow was frayed. The fabric worn, like it had been untied too many times. I thought it was trash at first. Maybe a prop discarded after some kind of street performance. But then, as I passed, I heard it. A knock from the inside. I froze. Another knock. Slow, deliberate. Like whoever or whatever was in there wanted me to know they were waiting. When I bent down and tugged at the ribbon, I swear my fingers shook. And when I finally loosened it, the lid snapped open. And that's when the hand pushed through. Not a claw, not a monster's talon, just a white glove, the unmistakable kind Mimes wear. It curled its fingers over the lip of the box, gripping, waiting, but no one climbed out. Just the arm, pale glove, black sleeve, reaching and reaching, like the Mime was halfway between two worlds. I slammed the box shut and ran. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that knock. That slow, patient knock. You ever hear something and know in your bones that it isn't meant for your ears? That's how it felt. Like I'd overheard something private, something forbidden. And I'll ask you this, right here, before we go deeper. Would you ever open a box that knocks back? Because if you would, you're exactly the kind of soul Halfway Dark was made for. And you need to subscribe now, because these stories, they aren't just stories, they're warnings, they're records. And without you, without memory, they vanish. Just like the Mime. The next morning, the box wasn't in the street anymore. It was on my porch, tucked neatly against my door, as if delivered. The ribbon tied again, tighter this time. And the moment I opened the door knock, I didn't touch it. Not this time. But I couldn't stop staring, because the glove was poking out, just barely, fingers twitching, mimicking me. Every time I lifted my hand, it lifted its hand. Every time I curled my fingers, so did it. It wasn't trapped. It was learning. Days passed, and the box followed me. Always tied with that bow. Always waiting. I found it in the grocery store aisle once, just sitting there between stacks of cereal boxes. In the laundromat, perched on top of a washing machine, vibrating in time with the spin cycle. In the library, tucked neatly under a table, as if someone had been reading with it at their feet. The Mime's hand would poke out, mirror mine, copy the way I moved, the way I stood. And sometimes, when I didn't move at all, I caught it rehearsing, gesturing in silence, running its hand over an invisible wall, pretending to pull a rope, pretending to tug me closer. There are rules, of course. All things like this have rules. The first, don't open the box twice. The second, don't let it finish learning you. The third, don't watch it for too long, because the longer you watch, the more it understands, the more real it becomes. I broke every rule. One night, I woke up to find the box at the foot of my bed, ribbon already undone, the lid gaping wide. And there he was. The Mime crouched on the floor, head tilted, paint-white face grinning without lips moving. No sound, no breath, just him. And he raised his hands, white gloves glimmering in the dark, and pressed them against an invisible wall between us. I tried to scream, but my throat wouldn't work. He leaned, pushed, and when his hands met mine, flat palm to palm through the unseen barrier, I felt it. Cold, real, skin beneath the glove, and then silence. Because I wasn't moving anymore. He was. He turned his head. He tilted it. He copied my terror, frame by frame. But then he kept going. Gestures I never made. Motions I never learned. He became something beyond me, and I realized I wasn't watching him perform. I was watching him practice. Practice being me. I don't know how long I was frozen, but when I blinked again, I was back in bed, alone. The box was gone, but in the corner of my room, faint on the wall, were handprints. White, chalky, like fingerprints in dust. 2 hands pressed against the invisible glass, and they weren't mine. Now the box moves without me. It shows up in strangers' homes, in alleys, on stages. And the mime inside keeps practicing, keeps rehearsing. They say if you open it once, he'll never be free, because he's already learning you, already working on your movements. So if you see a black and white striped box, ribbon frayed, bow loose, don't touch it. Don't look too close. And if you hear a knock tonight, don't answer, because maybe it's not on your door. Maybe it's from inside the box under your bed. And if it is, that's not me knocking. That's the mime. And he's ready to perform. The laughter box. The first time I heard the box, it wasn't with my ears. It was in my chest, like someone laughing inside me, low and hollow. The sound didn't belong to me. It was older, sharper. The box itself was small black wood, no carvings this time. Just a brass latch that clicked like a giggle when I touched it. Tell me, if a box laughed before you opened it, would you still lift the lid? Or would you lock it away, knowing it had already heard you? I worked nights at a warehouse, sorting through abandoned shipments. Things people ordered and never claimed. Things left in the system too long. The box was in the corner of a crate marked undeliverable. No address. No return. When I picked it up, the laughter followed me. Soft at first, like distant children playing, but it grew louder with each step, until it was the only sound in the building. No one else heard it. My coworkers just frowned at me when I asked. To them, I was holding nothing. At home, I set it on the table. My cat arched its back, hissed, and fled into the bedroom. The clock on the wall ticked once, then stopped. I touched the latch, and the laughter stopped too. If you were here, what would you do? Snap the lock open, just to prove it's harmless? Or leave it closed forever, knowing silence is sometimes worse? And before I go further, if I disappear, this video might be the only thing left of me. Subscribe now, because once the laughter starts, it gets inside you. And if it gets me, I'll need you to remember I was here. I opened the box. Inside was a mouth. Just lips, pale and dry, stretched into a grin that never ended. No teeth, no tongue, just a shape. And it was laughing. Not out loud, not with sound, but I could feel it, pouring into me, shaking my ribs. My own chest convulsed until I realized I was laughing too. I slammed the lid. The box rattled. My laughter didn't stop. It clawed up my throat until tears streamed down my face. I couldn't breathe. Finally, I threw it across the room. The latch clicked, the lid cracked open. The laughter poured out, filling the apartment like smoke. The mirror on the wall trembled, and in it, my reflection wasn't laughing at all. My mouth was sewn shut, my eyes wide. The sound wasn't coming from me. It was coming from somewhere else, inside me. That night, I woke to find the box on my chest, its lid slowly opening, the laughter seeping into my lungs. I tried to scream, but only laughter came out, high, broken, like a recording played too fast. The box whispered then, not in words, but in rhythm, a pattern, a code, like knocking. And when I finally understood it, I wished I hadn't. It was spelling my name. The next morning, my neighbors avoided me. My voice cracked when I tried to speak. And when I checked my voicemail, every saved message had changed. Each one replaced with the same sound. Laughter layered over itself, hundreds of voices. I smashed my phone. But even in the silence, I could hear it. In the walls, the pipes, my heartbeat, The box followed me everywhere. I left it in the dumpster. It was waiting in my locker at work. I buried it in the woods, found it on my passenger seat. Every time, the latch clicked. Every time, the laughter grew louder. And every time I opened it, the mouth inside was wider. The last night I had it, the box didn't wait for me. It opened on its own. The mouth stretched so far it split, tearing into a hole. And from that hole, hands emerged, small, childlike, pale. They gripped the edge of the box and pulled something through. I didn't see its face, only the grin. I ran, left everything behind. My car, my apartment, my job. But the laughter hasn't stopped. It's inside me now. When I smile, it's not mine. When I laugh, it's not me. I think the box isn't an object. It's a door. And once you hear it, you carry it with you. So if you ever hear laughter where there should be none, don't smile, don't laugh, because that's how it finds you. That's how the box opens. The silent parade. The first time I heard the music, it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from under my floorboards. A faint, tinkling tune, like a music box turning itself. Gears whirring, melody bent just slightly off key. And then, layered beneath it, footsteps, slow, heavy, dozens of them. I pressed my ear to the floor, and I swear I could hear breathing. Tell me, what would you do if the parade started beneath your house? I live in an ordinary town, a place where nothing happens, where the strangest thing you'll see is a yard sale with mannequin heads or a thrift store selling VHS tapes nobody wants. I work night shift, so I'm used to weird noises. Houses groan, pipes whisper, neighbors argue when they think nobody's listening. But this was different, because when I looked outside that night, the street was empty. No lights, no music, nothing. And still, I could hear the faint shuffle of shoes beneath my floorboards, like a parade that had no street. The next night, I heard the knocking. At first, I thought it was at my door, but it wasn't. It was inside the walls. I pulled the couch away, pressed my hand against the plaster, and something pressed back. A gloved hand, white, waiting. The box came 3 days later. Black and white striped, ribbon tied, bow frayed. Just like before. But this time, when it knocked, I didn't touch it. And that's when I saw them. Shapes outside my window. Dozens of pale faces painted with black tears, silent mouths curled into smiles. Mimes, standing in the street, waiting. When I lifted my hand, they lifted theirs. When I stepped back, they stepped forward in unison. A silent parade, and the box shook with excitement. That's when I realized the first rule. The box is never alone. If you see one mime, there are more. Always more. I tried to leave town. Drove past the diner, past the gas station, straight into the dark stretch of highway. But no matter how far I drove, I kept seeing them in the rearview mirror. White gloves, black sleeves. Dozens of them, walking perfectly in step, keeping pace with my car. And when I finally pulled over, the road behind me was empty. No one there. Just the box sitting on the hood of my car. Ribbon tied again, bow frayed. It escalates fast. That's the second rule. At first, you hear them. Then you see them. Then they start to move like you. I caught one in my driveway, practicing, copying my walk, my posture, pausing at the same moments I pause. Another, I swear, stood in my kitchen when I flipped the light on. Not moving, just waiting, holding an invisible wall between us. And when I blinked, it was gone. But I felt the wall. I walked straight into it, nose first. And I realized they weren't pretending anymore. The walls were real. I know you're listening closely right now. Let me ask you, what would you do if an entire parade of mimes was rehearsing your life, step by step? Because if you don't want to find out firsthand, you should subscribe now. That's how you leave a trace. That's how you make sure someone remembers you after the parade takes over. Otherwise, you'll just be another silent act in their routine. I thought I could escape. I thought wrong. Because the third rule is the worst one. You can't leave once the parade chooses you. Every street I turn down folds back on itself. Every exit ramps into another entrance. I walk, and the footsteps echo mine. Half a second later, louder, heavier. The town is gone. There's only the parade. Last night, I saw the leader. Not a man. Not a mime. Something else wearing their paint, their gloves, their face. Tall, too tall. Shoulders scraping the telephone wires. Face stretched pale and long, with the smile painted directly onto skin. And when it raised its hand, the others froze in place. The music stopped, and for the first time, I heard it speak. Not in words, not in sound, in silence. Silence so heavy, it pressed against my ears, bending me to the ground, forcing me to cover my head. It told me, we're almost ready. I don't know what happens when the parade finishes its performance, but I've seen glimpses. Neighbors frozen at their windows, miming my gestures. Friends sending texts in my words. Shadows rehearsing me when I'm not looking. They're replacing us, one by one. I think I'm already slipping. Sometimes I wake up, and my face is painted white in the mirror, black streaks under my eyes. Sometimes I hear laughter, but it's silent, trapped behind glass walls I can't see. And sometimes I can't tell if I'm me at all, or just another mime perfecting the act. So if you hear the faint music tonight, don't follow it. If you see the striped box, ribbon frayed, bow loose, don't touch it. And if you notice a crowd gathering outside, smiling without sound, don't wave back, because that isn't a crowd. That's the parade, and once they march past your house, you're already part of the act. The glass mime. The first time the glass cracked, it wasn't from outside. It was from the inside of my mirror. I heard it late at night, a faint tapping, like someone's fingernail scratching against glass. When I leaned in close, I saw it. A white glove, pressing back against mine. And when I froze, so did it. Tell me, if you saw a mime trapped inside your own reflection, would you keep staring? My apartment is small, boring, the kind of place with beige walls and squeaky pipes. Nothing supernatural. Nothing worth talking about. But lately, the mirrors have been wrong. Not shattered, not warped, just late. I move, and my reflection hesitates. A split second behind me, like it's deciding whether to follow. I didn't notice it at first, but once you do, you can't unsee it. The box came next. Left in my bathroom sink, striped black and white, ribbon frayed, bow loose. I didn't touch it. But when I brushed my teeth, I saw my reflection's hand drift downward, fingers curling toward the faucet toward the box, while mine stayed frozen on the counter. It wanted to open it. It wanted out. The first rule of the glass mime is simple. Don't break eye contact. Because the second you blink, the second you look away, it moves on its own. I tested it. Stayed still, staring for what felt like hours, my eyes burning. And when I finally blinked, its smile was wider. I need you to understand something right now. This isn't just a story. This is a record. A warning. If I vanish, if the mime takes my place, you'll only know if you hit subscribe. That's the only way memory survives in places like this. Would you risk forgetting who you are? The glass mime isn't just rehearsing. It's studying. When I eat, it waits, then copies me with slight differences, like it's improving the act, adding movements, pausing at moments I never did. When I sleep, I dream of it tapping on the mirror, pressing harder, cracking the surface with hairline fractures. And one night, I woke up to the sound of shattering. The bathroom mirror was broken. Shards glittered across the floor, edges sharp as knives. And on the largest piece, I saw a reflection. Not mine, His face painted white, streaks of black under the eyes. Gloves spotless despite crawling through glass. He tilted his head and stepped out. You can't fight him. Every move you make, he copies. Faster, smoother, better. You throw a punch, and he's already there, blocking it with invisible walls. You run, and he runs with you, half a second ahead, cutting you off. He isn't following. He's leading. And you're the reflection now. The last rule? Don't ever look too long. Because the longer you watch, the less you'll remember. Your reflection stops being yours. Your body stops being yours. And one night, you'll look in the mirror, and the mime won't be behind the glass anymore. He'll be standing where you are. And you'll be the one trapped inside. If you hear faint tapping tonight, don't lean in. Don't answer the knock. Because that isn't you in the glass anymore. That's him. And he's already rehearsing your smile. The box have forgotten names. The first time I opened the box, I saw my own name written inside, carved into the wood, shallow and jagged, like it had been scratched with fingernails. But here's the thing: I hadn't opened the box before. Someone else had. Someone who already knew me. It began at an estate sale, a kind of place where time feels brittle, where the air smells of mothballs and dust, and strangers' lives are stacked on folding tables for a few dollars apiece. Most of it was junk-cracked porcelain, yellowed newspapers, brittle furniture. But on the back shelf, away from everything else, sat the box. It was small, maybe the size of a shoebox, made of pale, unfinished wood. No hinges, no lock, no key. Just a sliding lid with a handle that looked like it had been worn smooth by decades of use. And burned into the front, in crooked letters, was a word: remember. Something about it made me pick it up. My hands shook, and I told myself it was just the weight of the thing. But it wasn't heavy. It was hollow. I asked the woman running the sale about it, but she only frowned, said it wasn't supposed to be out, said it belonged to the old man who died in the house, and that I should leave it where I found it. But the box was already mine the moment I touched it. That night, in my apartment, I set it on the table. I told myself I wouldn't open it, just let it sit there. But the word burned into the wood kept pulling my eyes back. Remember. And before I tell you what I did, let me stop here. If the box ever finds you, and it will, you'll need proof you were here. A mark left behind, so your name isn't lost when the lid slides open. That's why I'm asking now. Subscribe, not just to support this channel, but so someone knows you existed. Because when the box calls, memory is the only lifeline. I slid the lid open with a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Inside, I expected dust, scraps, maybe trinkets. Instead, I found names. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Thousands. All carved into the wood. Some were old, the edges smoothed down like they'd been there for centuries. Others looked fresh, jagged, as if carved yesterday. At first, I thought they were random. Until I saw mine. Not just my first name, my full name. My handwriting, etched into the wood grain, as though I'd been the one to carve it. But I hadn't. I swear I hadn't. I slammed the lid shut and shoved the box under my bed. But that night, the dreams came. I dreamt of voices calling my name, hundreds of them overlapping, whispering, pleading, screaming. I woke drenched in sweat, the sound still ringing in my ears. And when I leaned over the edge of the bed, the box had slid out on its own, sitting in the middle of the floor. The second night, I heard scratching. Faint at first, like nails against wood. Then louder, the sound of carving. I didn't open it. I couldn't. But in the morning, when I finally dared, there was a new name etched inside. My mother's. The third night, more names appeared. Friends, strangers, people I hadn't thought about in years. Each name came with a memory, something I'd long forgotten until the box forced it back. A birthday party, a fight, a kiss, a funeral. But then the names started disappearing. At first, just one or two. I'd flip the lid open, searching for the people I knew, and find blank spaces where they should have been, like the memory had been carved out. And with each vanished name, I forgot. Faces blurred, details dissolved. Entire people slipped away from me like smoke. I tried writing them down. I filled journals, notebooks, anything I could, desperate to hold on. But when the box erased them, the words turned meaningless. Whole pages went blank. I realized too late the box wasn't just storing names. It was feeding on them, erasing lives one by one. And the worst part? Every time a name disappeared, the box whispered mine a little louder. By the fourth night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the lid sliding open on its own. I nailed it shut, duct taped the seams, locked it in a trunk. But it doesn't matter. The box doesn't need opening anymore. It breathes now. I hear it in the dark, slow and steady, as if each inhale is a name being swallowed. I've checked inside, even though I shouldn't. My name is fading. The letters are thinner now, the edges worn smooth. When it's gone completely, I don't think I'll be here anymore. So listen carefully. If you find the box of forgotten names, don't touch it. Don't even look at it too long. Because the moment you do, it learns you. And once it learns you, it starts carving. And when the carving fades, so will you. So if you wake up tomorrow and there's a name you can't remember, a face you can't place, ask yourself, did the box take them? Or did it just move on to you? And if you hear scratching under your bed tonight, don't check. That's not mice. That's me. My name almost gone.